All right. Diving into a story that's, well, it's stood the test of time, hasn't it? The Prodigal Son. But trust me, this isn't Sunday school stuff.
No, not at all.
You guys sent this in, so we know it's speaking to you all on some level, and we're here to, well, figure out why this story still resonates after thousands of years, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of amazing, isn't it, how a story this old can still feel, I don't know, so relevant.
Right. Okay, so just as a refresher, we've got this younger son who basically says, "See ya," to his family, right? And then just burns through all his inheritance like there's no tomorrow, parties, bad decisions, you name it. But then he hits rock bottom. No money, no friends, just, well, regret. And that's when he decides to crawl back home, hoping, and probably just barely hoping, that his dad won't, slam the door in his face.
And that's where things get really interesting, right?
Right?
Because let's face it, most of us, we'd expect some anger,
Yeah, definitely.
maybe a lecture or two. But instead, the father welcomes him back, open arms. It's just pure joy. Like his son coming back, well, that's all that mattered. Nothing else mattered at that moment.
It's almost hard to, I don't know, imagine, right? This level of forgiveness before the son has even, like, apologized or said anything, really. It's like the father's just so overwhelmed with, I don't know, love and relief that his son's back, that nothing else matters. Makes you think maybe true forgiveness, it isn't about keeping score, but it's about, I don't know, second chances, even when they're hard to give.
Yeah, and that's grace, isn't it?
Yeah.
Grace isn't about earning your way back into someone's good graces. It's about being loved unconditionally, even when you know you messed up. And I mean really messed up. It's that feeling of, well, acceptance when you know you don't deserve it.
And let's be real, we've all been there at some point. Maybe not inheritance level mistakes, but,
Yeah,
we've all had those "what was I thinking"
Yeah.
moments. Yeah.
definitely. And the story doesn't just focus on the dad, the father's forgiveness. It also shows the son's, his inner struggle. I mean, imagine the courage it took to go back, to face all that shame, regret, probably a lot of fear.
Yeah.
And that fear of rejection, that's huge. And those are,
Yeah.
I mean, those are universal feelings.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes this parable really connect, because it captures that very human experience of realizing you messed up and then needing that courage to ask for another chance,
Yeah.
even when we feel completely unworthy. Yeah.
And speaking of courage, that internal struggle, I mean, it really makes you think. What was going through his head? Was it just about, food and shelter? Or was it something more? Was there some deep longing for, I don't know, connection or real true forgiveness?
It makes you wonder, right? Like, what were his true motivations?
Yeah.
Was there a part of him, maybe even subconsciously, that knew he wanted to go back, even if he couldn't admit it at the time?
Mm,
It just reminds us that seeking forgiveness, admitting we need help, that takes guts.
it really does. And you know what I find interesting? We see this all the time, and not just in, religious contexts. Think about how often we hear prodigal son, like the phrase.
Yeah.
It just captures something about the human experience, that desire to reconcile, that hope for a fresh start. We all relate to it.
Yeah, definitely. This story, it goes way beyond any one religion or belief system.
Yeah.
It taps into this. I think it's a universal yearning for reconciliation, and not just with family, but with ourselves, maybe even something bigger than ourselves, recognizing our need to be forgiven and that hope that it's possible to start again.
It's powerful. So I want to ask, for anyone listening, what part of this story really speaks to you? Is it that overwhelming compassion from the father, the son's journey coming back from, well, from rock bottom, or is it that moment of reconciliation, the hug that just speaks 1,000 words?
And here's something else to think about. The parable, it ends with that celebration.
Mm.
It doesn't tell us what he does after, how he rebuilds. Yeah. How he rebuilds his life after experiencing such radical forgiveness. It's almost like an open invitation for us. What comes next, right?
Right.
What does it look like for us to start fresh with this new understanding of grace and forgiveness? What does that look like in our lives?
Wow. You just gave everyone a lot to think about today. It's incredible how a parable this old can still, well, spark such deep reflection. So as you go about your day, let the story, let it simmer in your mind for a bit. What does the prodigal son's journey mean for you? And how can forgiveness, courage, and second chances, how can they inspire your life?